to show you how to easily sew that beautiful Agbada like bubu that you've seen at the beginning of the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to need the length. Okay, first of all, this is the fabric I'm using. I'm using a total of 4 yards. I bought 4 yards. I'm not going to need as much as 4 yards, but I just bought, so I have more than enough. But for most people, depending on the length, 3 yards should be enough. I'm just buying the extra so that I don't have to go back or regret that I should have gotten more. And if there's anything left, I can always use that in another video. So, but for me, I bought 4 yards, so 3 yards should be fine for most people. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to need to know what your dress length is. All right, so the dress length is going to determine how much fabric you cut in the very first place. So the dress length that I'm working with is 38 inches. Okay, so 38 inches times 2. Now it's times 2 because of from the shoulder down to the end of the front 38, from the shoulder down to the end of the back 38. That's why it is times 2, and that's going to bring us to a total of 76 inches. All right, so 76 inches plus my allowance, because I'm going to want to hem the front and hem the back. For my hemming allowance, I'm going to keep 2 inches on both the front and both the back. So 2 plus 2, that's equals to 4. Okay, 2 for the front, 2 for the hemming of the back of the bubu. So that's going to bring us 4 plus 76. We now have a total of 80. So you're going to bring your fabric, you're going to go to the part of your fabric where you have the length. So you're going to measure out 80 inches. Okay, so you've seen the way I cut it. I first measured 60 because my measuring tape ends at 60. I first measured 60, kept the tape at where the 60 stopped, and I measured 20. So that's how I got the 80. Next thing I want you to do, you're going to come to the width of the fabric. So whatever the fabric is by. What I mean by that is you can see this edge here that is well finished. This is where they measured 1 yard, 2 yards when they were cutting. This here is the width of the length, sorry, this here is the length of the fabric. So I want you to fold it like this, all right, into half on the length, all right, and I want you to iron it flat. I'm going to do this from the beginning all the way down to the end so that everything is nice and smooth. All right, so let me do that now. And then after you've folded the whole thing straight, I want you to now collapse it on itself. Okay? Alright, so now the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to briefly open it back up because we're going to need to cut our neckline here. The reason why I told you to iron, fold and iron is so that you make a very nice smooth crease line, so that you make a crease, a line at the top of the top part of your fold here, because this top part of the fold that we have here is the part that's going to be the shoulder. Alright, so what I'm going to now do is I'm going to open this back up carefully. And when I do, now you can see that I have a line running across here. This line is where I'm going to rule my neckline. So the neckline I'm using here should be enough for most people because there's a round neckline and then there's a keyhole that comes down here. So your head should be able to pass regardless of your size. I'm going to do 3 points. I was thinking 3 inches, but let me do 3.2 for the width. If you're a person that has, if your shoulders are like 17, 18, I would do 3.5 for the width. But everybody else 16 and below, down to 14, I would do 3 inches for the width. So down here, I'm going to come down to 3.5. I would maintain this regardless of whatever size you've fallen. And at the back, so you can still see we're using this line as our shoulder line. At the back here, I'm going to come up by only 1 inch. Alright, and then I'm going to connect this line here to this point. Alright. All right, now we'll simply cut around the neckline. Okay. All right, and then we're going to fold it back to that edge. All right, so now there are some measurements here that are very important. Your shoulder measurement is important, and the sleeve length. Now I know that there is no sleeve. When I say sleeve length, I'm talking about from your shoulder to wherever you want the agbada to stop. All right, so yeah, so when you have those measurements, what you're going to do is you're going to divide your shoulder by 2 plus whatever length you want to have to it. So the shoulder I'm working with is 15. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. 7.5 plus 11 would give us 18.5. All right, so I'm going to measure from here to here, from the edge to here, 18.5. all right, 18.5, and that is the length. So whatever I have after here, okay, from here down would be used as the excess for the folds, because those pleats you can see lying down, all right, are simply just the excess, using the excess to create those things. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to come to here and see how much you have left. All right, so we have 11.5 inches. So whatever we do, our pleats have to consume this 11.5, but just enough. I hope that's making sense. I'm trying to explain this the best way I can. All right, first we've placed our shoulder, okay, and then we've placed the length that we want all of this to be at the end of the day. By the time we finish holding everything we want to hold, all of this will disappear, all right, and will be part of this, because of we're going to do some pleating here and there and fold some places. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But first of all, make sure that you know how much fabric you have left, all right, because that will dictate how large the folds that you would make can be. So make sure that you have that number down. That's the reason why I did the math of the shoulder divided by 2 plus the sleeve length, so that I would know what I have left, and that is what we are going to pleat. All right, so let me tell you how we go about pleating this. All right, so now that we know that we need only 11.5 here, what you are going to do is you're going to take that measurement of whatever you have left here, and you're going to divide it into 3 places. All right, so 11.5 divided by 3 would give us like roughly 4 inches. Okay, let me calculate this. It's 3.8 inches, but I'm going to use 4 inches for my approximation. And the last place, you will see how we're going to spread it, but make sure that you divide it into 3 places, because we're going to have 3 folds. The first fold will be the first agbada fold at the shoulder, second one will be in the middle of the sleeve, and the last one will be for bending in the hem of the sleeve. All right, so now that we've gotten that, what you're going to do is this. You're going to come to the end, the bottom part, okay, because this is where we're starting from. You're going to come to the bottom part, make sure that everything is straight under here, all right, make sure that everything is perfectly smooth. And then for the first fold, remember we are using a total of 4 inches, all right, so the first fold is going to start shortly after at where the shoulder stops. So remember, I told you that the shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, so the first fold is going to start after 7.5. So what I'm going to do is this. We're going to come here, all right, 7.5, we make a mark, that's where the fold is starting from, and then we're going to mark 4 inches, all right. Remember I told you that we're using 4 for each one, all right, so 4 for the first one, and then we're going to make a notch here and make a notch here. Alright, so you see this place here, this place is going to be where we have the first fold. So here it's going to be folded, be picked up like so. Alright, so you see here, this is where we're going to have the first fold. Alright, so I hope that you're starting to get the picture. For the next fold, alright, when it's time for you to make the fold for your sleeve, okay, remember I said that it's not a sleeve, it's added on, but you're looking at it like a sleeve, you should understand. Here is going to be folded out, so this part here is not even part of the measurements anymore. So if you're measuring where the fold is going to be on the second part of the sleeve, what you're where the second fold is going to be, you're going to come after this stop here, okay, after this notch. Remember we made 2 notches here and here. This is the beginning of the 4, the end of the 4. What we're going to do next is this. You're going to come from here, all right, and then you're going to measure out your sleeve length. So your sleeve length is 11 inches. Half of 11 inches is 5.5. It's it's 5.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to 5.5 and I'm going to make a mark. All right, and then I'm going to mark my 4. I hope that this is clear. Alright, so this is where we're going to have the first line that's going to run, and this is where we're going to have the second one running from here all the way to the top. And then for the last part here, we're going to simply just fold here in. But here we don't have 4 anymore. All right, here we have like 3 point something. So we've consumed. All right, so as I was saying here, remember at first we had 11.5 at that bottom part. We've consumed 4 here, we've consumed 4 here. So this is 11 minus this 4 minus this 4, that's 11 minus 8. What we have left is 3.8. 3.8 is what we're going to 3.5, sorry, 3.5 is what we're going to use for our large folding at the end of the day. Alright, but you understand all of this clearly when we move over to the sewing machine. But for that, with this we are basically done with the first part. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a facing. All right, so for this part, for this neckline here, I want it to have an Ankara facing. You can go ahead and simply just use the fabric to turn it if you don't want to do that, but for me, I'm going to use this colorful fabric to turn it over. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut this fabric with a width of 15 inches by 15 inches. All right, that's what I'm doing first. All right, so I ended up cutting this with a width of 15 inches by 17. All right, and now I'm going to fold it in half. I've done this in a couple of videos, so let me just show you. Fold it in half, place it underneath, carry this guy, place on top. Make sure everything is smooth. I'm going to pull this down as low as possible. So I'm basically giving the back, that's the back of the dress, like 2 inches, and I'm pushing all the other excess in front of here. Alright, and then I'm now going to cut around here. Alright, and with that we have cut out the facing that's going to be in front. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to iron on gum stay, hard gum stay to this fabric. Alright, before I now cut out the shape that I want. Alright, so after you have ironed it and you folded it back, you can now cut basically whatever shape you want out of it. Alright, so let me just... Alright, so like you've seen, I want mine to have the sharp edges, but you can smoothen yours out, you can make it to be circles, curves, whatever you want. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold the edges in like so. All right, I'm going to fold the edges in, and then I'll show you how to iron the lines on the body so that we can proceed. Alright, so I've created it and I've ironed all the sides in. Now let me show you how we iron the body. All right. So here you can see that we have the neckline. This is the back, the neckline. This is the front of the neckline. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up like I'm doing now. Open everything up, and then we're going to come to the first notch. Alright, so you can see the first notch that we have over here. We're going to fold it down like so. Make sure to keep the edges straight, and you are going to iron it. Alright, so we're going to iron it. What we're trying to do is on the other side, if we keep on going up, on the other side, we're supposed to have a similar notch to this at the other side. So we're trying to iron a straight line from here all the way up. So please make sure to do that. Take your time with it. Don't bend the line. The line is bent, you go back, you do it again so that it comes out straight at the end of the day. Alright? Alright, so now that I have made the connection, I'm going to go and make a stitch now from this place all the way down to the other side. Alright, I'm going to do that on every single place we made a notch. So remember these two places. Alright, I'm still going to fold and stitch, but let me go and do this first side. In fact, let's go so that we do it together. Alright, so you can see here, this is where we have the notch, and that's the edge where we folded. We're simply stitching from here all the way to the other side. Please, if it's 2 inches, make sure to keep it 2 inches wide at all times. It shouldn't dance, it shouldn't reduce. So if you want to use your tape while you are doing this, please do. Alright, so you can see this part here, this is the first fold that's going to sit like so on this around the sleeve area. So we're going to need to go down to the bottom and stitch all the way up again for all the other steps. So we have like 3 places left. If you come down here, you would see there should be a notch close to here. Okay, look at the first notch here, and where's the second notch? Look at the second notch here. It didn't come out properly on this side, but there's a notch here. And if we look closely here, you can see there's a notch here. So let me notch this. I'm going to head back to my ironing table. I'm going to fold this part down like so, and I'll iron from here all the way to the other side. I'll do that for the remaining 3 places, and then we'll be back so that we can stitch the yoke together. Alright, so you can see here I have stitched the flaps on both sides of the shoulder, from bottom to top, and I've ironed it flat. Next thing we're supposed to do is we're supposed to stitch this part here around the neckline. Alright, so we're supposed to fold it in like so. So what we're going to simply do is this. We're going to pick this up, put this part here underneath, and you're going to align the neckline. Alright, so we're starting from here, then we're going to stitch around. Okay, so we're starting from this point, we're going to stitch around and then turn everything inside out. But yeah, so alright, so after stitching around the neck, next thing I'm going to do, you can see this line I have running down the middle. This is the center of the front as well. I'm going to stitch down maybe 4 inches, and I'm going to go back up. I'm going to keep a space of 0.25 between my stitch. Just watch and see. So now after I've turned it inside out, I'm going to go and press and iron it, make sure I push out all the edges. I'm going to use my pin to secure it, and then I'm going to come and stitch around the edges. Alright. Alright, so now that I have stitched on the facing, the next thing is to finish off the sides. And remember, we had 3.5 inches left. Okay, so what you're going to do is we're going to turn everything to the wrong side, so you can see this is the wrong side that we have here. And we're going to make sure that you arrange them to be on the same level. Arrange everything to be on the same level like so. And then we're going to stitch from the edge here. Okay, but we must start from the very top. You're going to keep some allowance from the top. You're going to keep, for me, I'm going to keep 9 inches. That should be more than enough for the sleeve to pass. But if you have a bust of like 44 and above, I would come down to 10. But for me, I'm going to just come to 9, and then we'll come in by 3.5. Now this is the time to you know, if you want to make it, you know, slightly tighter, just whatever you do, make sure not to come too close to this line. If you want to come into like 4 inches or even 5 to make it come a bit closer to the body, it is fine. But for me, I'm only going to consume the 3.5 inches that we had left, so that it sits around the body as free as a bubu or an agbada should. So this 3.5, 9 inches, 3.5, I'm sewing this straight down. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side as well. So with that, we have locked the sides, all right, and we are done. The next thing I want you to do after you lock, now if you want to install pockets, like side pockets, so that you have inner pockets from the outside, I've made a video on how to install side pockets. Just check my channel, type how to Ndifon, how to install side pockets, and you have a good video on how to install pockets on this if you want. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to collapse everything like so. So this 3.5, I'm going to fold it right here. So you see this, I'm going to fold it like this, spread an iron here, and I'm going to iron it all the way to the end. Alright, I'm going to do this on the left and on the right, and I'll be back to show you what we do with it. Just iron this part like this, and iron this the other side the same way. I'll be back. Alright, so I have folded in the end of the sleeve like so. If you want, after you fold it, you can use hemming gum, that's hemming tape, and glue it flat, so that this place here will be clean and will not have any seams on it. Or you can basically top stitch, but I feel like it will be a lot neater if you use hemming gum to hold it down, which is what I'm going to do everywhere here. But let me flip it inside so that you guys see. On this side here, you notice it's not coming out. That's because I've used hemming gum there, but on this other side I have not used yet. You're going to just simply put hemming gum inside here and iron it flat and leave it like that, so that it's clean and smooth. Next thing I'm going to do is to hem the bottom of the dress. Please, as you hem, you want to make sure that you leave this pleats that we've made, or these things, the stitches that we've made that gives it the whole look that it has. You want to make sure that it stays facing the right direction. So you don't want to stitch and then fold this one back. Meanwhile, coming from the top, you can see that it is straight. You can see that it's facing this direction. You want to keep it that direction, even facing that direction, even when you are hemming. All right. So just put that out there, and then I'm going to now hem the bottom of the dress. After I hem the bottom of the dress, I'm basically done with it. If you watched this far, thank you. I will see you in the next video. Do have a lovely day. Bye bye.